In the spring of 1937, an elderly Pulaski County attorney wrote a will leaving his property to his housekeeper. By summer, he deeded her the farm. In the fall, she and her husband were divorced, and on December 31st, the attorney was found dead in his bed. This is not an effort to retry the housekeeper. It is an examination of the unusual sequence of events that brought her case to court. For more than a decade, we have been on a mission to rediscover local stories that once sparked curiosity, conversation, and maybe even a little suspicion, but somehow became forgotten or lost to time. Not to accuse anyone of anything, not to rewrite the past, but to step back into another time, reconnect with the people who lived these stories, and ask the kinds of questions our grandparents likely asked around kitchen tables, on front porches, in quiet conversations after the newspaper had been folded and set aside. It was a time when the Joplins and the local newspaper did more than report the news. They documented the life of the community, its triumphs, tragedies, court cases, controversies, and left behind stories that provide a head start for our research. The stories pieced together from courthouse records, newspaper clippings, vital records, family names, and just enough unanswered questions to keep us asking, what happened? In Pulaski County, some old stories don't come with neat endings. The more time passes, the more the finer details fade. And this is one of those stories. Today, we are going back to the 1930s to talk about Eliza Tarter Phelps, Simpson Phelps, and a death that raised one uncomfortable question. Was it murder or natural circumstance? Eliza Tarter was accused. She was indicted. But according to the October 5th, 1938 Commonwealth newspaper, she was acquitted by a jury after her murder trial where the verdict was returned on September 29th. So, this is not a story about guilt. It is a story about records, timing, suspicion, and a set of facts that still may leave a few questions behind. Or maybe not. Maybe the truth won out. Records indicate that Eliza Dalton was born around 1895 in Wayne County and grew up in the Braunston area of Pulaski County with her parents, James and Emma Dalton, and her sisters. Sometime between 1910 and 1918, Eliza married Squire Thomas Tarter, better known as Babe. By 1920, Babe and Eliza were living on Mill Springs Road in the Bourbon community with their young sons. Like many families of that time, their lives included ordinary routines, growing children, and deep loss. Babe worked as a farmer. Eliza kept house and raised their sons. From the outside, there is no reason to believe anything other than they were a respectable Pulaski County family. So, now we need to meet the other figure in this mystery. Ulysses Simpson Phelps, known as Simpson, was born in 1866 and lived in the Mount Gilead area. He was an attorney, a farmer, and a man of property. In 1899, Simpson married Pina Minton. The couple lived outside Somerset, and over time, Simpson became associated with a substantial farm of more than 400 acres. Then, in April 1932, Pina died at only 55 years old. Simpson was left a widower in his 60s, with no children we could find. Sometime after Pina's death, Eliza Tarter became connected to Simpson Phelps's household. The Commonwealth later described Eliza as Phelps's housekeeper. And by 1937, her name began appearing in some of the most important records of his life. That is where the story takes a sharp turn. In March 1937, Simpson Phelps reportedly wrote a will leaving property to Eliza Tarter, provided he died within 1 year. But then, 3 months later, he went further. He deeded the farm directly to Eliza and recorded the deed at the courthouse. This detail is important because by the time Simpson died, Eliza was not just named in a will. She had already been deeded the property. The farm was reported to include about 401 acres of Pulaski County land. Then came another major event. On November 10, 1937, Eliza was granted a divorce from Babe in Pulaski County Circuit Court. Then, a little over a month later, on December 31, 1937, Simpson Phelps was found dead in his bed. The original death certificate, signed by Coroner E.B. Hargis, listed the cause as a severe form of heart disease. That might have been the end of the story, but Simpson's brother, Felix Phelps, was not satisfied. Felix was not merely a suspicious relative. He was also a Somerset attorney. He put his concerns into a sworn affidavit, alleging reasonable grounds to believe Simpson had died from unnatural and illegal causes. That affidavit shifted the case beyond family suspicion and into an official exhumation. The land transfer had moved a substantial piece of property outside the Phelps family. Whether that influenced Felix's suspicions cannot be established from the records located so far, but it formed part of the conflict surrounding Simpson's estate. During the exhumation process, the coroner sends samples of Simpson's organs to the FBI lab in Washington. The FBI detected arsenic in sections of the stomach and kidneys, but the report included a qualification that struck at the heart of the prosecution's case. The metal containers could themselves have contained arsenic. The examiners, therefore, could not say that all the arsenic came from Simpson's organs. The coroner had sent a separate sample to a private chemist in Louisville. The Louisville examination reportedly found neither arsenic nor strychnine. The bottom line was that arsenic had been detected in the FBI sample, but its source, and therefore its evidentiary value, remained disputed. In May 1938, a grand jury indicted Eliza Tarter in connection with the alleged poison murder of Simpson Phelps. Her trial began in Pulaski Circuit Court that September. The prosecution offered a straightforward motive. Eliza stood to gain a large farm from a man who died soon after transferring it to her. She had recently divorced her husband, and they leaned into the arsenic found in the tissue by the FBI lab. The defense pointed to a different record. Simpson had already transferred the farm before he died. Eliza said she paid for it. His original death certificate named severe heart disease. A Louisville chemist found no poison, and even the FBI could not rule out contamination from the specimen containers. Eliza testified in her own defense. She denied poisoning Simpson Phelps. She said he complained of feeling ill while eating supper the night before he died. She maintained that he died of a heart attack. She also testified that she had purchased the Phelps farm for $3,000, paying Simpson in different cash amounts before his death. The jury had to decide whether the timeline proved a crime, or merely made an ordinary death look suspicious. Her fate was in their hands. On October 5th, 1938, the Commonwealth newspaper reported the headline, "Mrs. Eliza Tarter acquitted by jury after murder trial." That meant she left the courtroom a free woman. That fact is not disputed. So, what happened? Was the deed a legitimate sale, as Eliza testified? Did Simpson transfer the property because he expected his health to fail? Or did the timing of the deed, the divorce, and the death create a suspicion that the scientific evidence could never reliably prove? Nearly 90 years later, Eliza's guilt is not the mystery. The mystery is how so many unusual facts converged around one death. Fact is sometimes stranger than fiction, and no matter what people may say, coincidence and bad timing do happen. As for Babe Tarter, he lived on until he passed after a heart attack in 1965. Eliza later appeared in records as Eliza Phelps, having married a man named Elsie. She passed in 1966, 1 year after Babe. These were ordinary people, with family names still rooted in our community. The romantic theory of a deeper relationship between Simpson and Eliza may be tempting, but the records do not take us that far. And that is the lesson in this Pulaski County mystery. A deed can raise suspicion. A divorce can sharpen the timeline. A sudden death can invite questions. But suspicion is not proof. Eliza Tarter was acquitted by a jury. It seems the mystery of the deed, the divorce, and the death is an open and shut case when we follow the records. Even so, historical records do not always agree, and additional documentation may still exist. If you have records that differ from the sources we found, please let us know in the comments and feel free to share the supporting documentation. For more hometown mysteries and hidden history, subscribe to our podcast on YouTube at Somerset Sleuths 25 or follow us on Facebook at Lake Cumberland Tactical Innovations. Until next time, remember, every town and every family have a story. Thanks for watching.